question here. This is from Ken Tomlin. We also have a Minnesota goodbye that Declan was texting us about last night that we're going to get to. So Ken Tomlin says, I'll start by saying I believe the answer to the question I'm about to ask is no, but here's the question. I'm wondering what your guys' opinion is of this comparison. Is Kirk capable of having a Rich Gannon type career path? Meaning we all know what type of quarterback Gannon was in his early years, and then how he turned it around later in his career, going to the Super Bowl, winning an MVP. Does Kirk have that type of run in him? Love your show. Been listening to you guys since the 1500 ESPN radio days. Keep up the great work. For context, Rich Gannon, 4th-round draft pick. Wasn't Cousins a 4th-round draft pick? 3rd, 4th-round draft pick, right? Gannon was kind of a Vikings backup and then a starter for the first 6 years. Then he bounced around to Washington, Kansas City. He didn't. Now, Cousins has had a better statistical run between ages like 25 and 34 than Gannon did. Gannon was like kind of a starter, but then he wasn't, and kind of a backup. But then at age 34 with Oakland, Gannon found the young, I guess you could say offensive minded, but just like the young, energetic coach that he connected with in John Gruden at the time. And instantly, boom, his numbers spike. Team success comes a year later. And between ages 34 and 37, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He was a four-time Pro Bowler in those 4 years. He won the MVP at age 37, Super Bowl, led the NFL in yardage in 2002.
Interesting. Yeah.
So kind of, I mean, not totally apples to apples, but you find that right connection at coach, and you've been in the league for like 10 years, and all of a sudden, like, the light goes on when you're 34 years old. Yeah, okay.
I think in Gannon's case, having covered him a bit when he was here, I don't think Gannon had coming in and for a long time the talent that Kirk has. I think Gannon might have been mentally tougher. And so, yes, the trajectories are interesting, but, you know, Kirk's career is filled with starting. Like, he basically, 2015 became the now Commander starter. And so, like, I like the comparison, but I think they're two very different people. And to your point, Phil, the common thing, though, is this. Young John Gruden, really smart, gets with Gannon. Gruden more demanding than O'Connell, I think, in a lot of ways. But yes, if the end result is the same, you're going to be entirely pleased. But I think they're different people. And don't forget, if I'm not mistaken, Gannon, 4th-round pick of the Patriots.
He was.
Out of Delaware. And the Patriots wanted to move him to running back.
Wow.
And he's like, no, I'm a quarterback. And then they traded him to the Vikings. So, like, Kirk is much more, came in and has been much more of who he is. But I think the comparison with the coaches and finding the right coach is incredibly intriguing. That's very interesting.
Also, too, I
like it.
I think we have to be careful about, like, once a quarterback gets into his late 30s, just assuming that everyone's going to be Tom Brady now, and they're all going to play into their 40s. And
amen, brother.
Generally speaking, you get to be 37, 38, 39, and that's a wrap. Brett Favre was really good at 39. Rodgers was winning MVPs at 37, 38. But that's 45 is not the bar. That's the Tom Brady. If you want to eat kale for every meal and sleep in a hyperbaric chamber for 12 hours a night, then maybe you can be 45.
There you can.
And, lose your wife and stuff.
And possibly lose millions or billions of dollars.
But ages 34 through 37,
yep,
that can be a peak for quarterbacks, because that's when, like, Peyton Manning used to talk about toward the end of his career, my mind dissects everything in super slow-mo now, because I've been in the league for like 13 or 15 years. But now my body's breaking down. So if you can get to the point where your mind is operating like like Neo in the Matrix, but your body hasn't broken down yet, and that window would tend to be 34, 30, 32, 33, maybe to 36, 37. So if those things align, it could be a peak window. And Kirk is entering it. Now, you could also just, like, drop off the map physically, and he's not the most, like, athletic guy in the world, so it wouldn't take a lot for him to
his
all of
toughness,
a sudden be...
Dude, his toughness is really incredible, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he got hit a couple more times in Buffalo, and the dude bounces back up, and like I always wait for him, right, to like grab his ribs or
Yeah.
something. And for the most part, aside from I think he was got the wind knocked out of him in Washington a week ago Sunday. For the most part, the guy just always gets up, sort of looks like that hurt a bit, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Give him a
He
lot of
is
credit.
tough, man.
give him a
And
lot of
I
credit.
will say he's tough, but and Peyton Manning had this, and some other guys too. Brady has this. He kind of knows how to avoid taking a hit too.
Well,
He doesn't get sacked
yes.
that often, and it's not always because the offensive line was perfect. He knows how to bail on a play without getting destroyed.
So there was actually part of the story arc that came out of the Vikings press conferences this week that I thought was interesting, and I don't think we've talked about it. Wes Phillips talked about the work that they did, and this again, it's just a small thing, but it's probably huge with Kirk as far as in the pocket, what to do. Because you remember, I mean, we've complained about that. Like he doesn't feel pressure, he doesn't do this and that. And I mean, that's improved. He takes off now a bit more, it feels like, with a purpose. But it's things like that that O'Connell and that staff, I think, get a ton of credit for, because you're talking about changing the fundamental philosophies of a guy who's 34. That's hard to do. And like they talked about the fact that, they definitely saw things on film that Kirk could improve. And it's
Yeah.
probably like small things, but if you could avoid a sack, or more importantly, a strip sack, that's going to be enormous. So like that's another just small thing that we probably don't focus on enough for why Cousins has gone from, the quarterback he's been up until now to being a far more effective quarterback, especially when the pressure is on. Again, not caring what his stats say. I think stats are, in this case, completely overrated.
And he used to have a really bad fumbling problem. When he got here, he still had that fumbling problem in 2018. He had a ton of fumbles. I think between when the time he became a starter through 2018, he led the NFL in terms of quarterback fumbles. And he's adapted to where to hold that puppy and to make sure I just fall on that ball, or I'm not going to let that be knocked loose. He has done a great job at adjusting that. And I feel like that's tough to, like, when you're in your late 20s and you're in your early 30s and you have a fumbling issue and you're able to correct that, like that takes a lot of guts, and I think Kirk Cousins deserves a lot of credit for that.
It was still a problem last year. Hell, he had 12 fumbles last
did he?
year, which
Wow.
was the second
Didn't seem
most
like
in his career. This year he only has 4 though.
And he's
but
lost one.
knock on wood. I don't know how many he's lost.
He lost one here. I forget the opponent, and it looked like it was going to be bad, and I think they stopped him.
Someone this morning actually sent me a DM on Twitter referring back to the Kurt Warner video breakdown of Cousins from right before the season started.
Yeah.
It was a 2-part thing. Kurt Warner does like quarterback film breakdown on his YouTube channel. It's awesome because it's coming from a Hall of Famer and a guy that's won a Super Bowl before. And there was one video, it was like 20 minutes showing Kirk at his peak and the great things he can do. But then there was a 20-minute sort of takedown video of here's why he's not great. Here's why he's good and not great. And it was kind of validating for, the yokels like us that think we know what we're watching on TV. And it just feels like, God, it's not that he's checking down all the time, but it just feels like there's a lot of, what else is out there? Okay, you completed it underneath to Conklin or whoever, but was there something else 20 yards down the field? And Warner with the All 22 video showed clips from the last couple of years of this was a completion, but look at this thing that was 15 yards over the top, breaking open. You have to anticipate that throw. And he basically said he needs to be hunting down the field more aggressively and forget about interceptions, like within reason. Kurt Warner actually got a little squirrely with interceptions sometimes, but it worked out for him at the time. He basically said, if you want to be a top-end great quarterback, you can't just be paralyzed by the fear of an interception. And to hear that from Kurt Warner in an all-22 film breakdown was very interesting. And if you look at the success the Vikings have had, especially after the bye week, it feels like Kirk, not in all cases, but in some big moments, especially against Buffalo, has kind of adopted what Kurt Warner is saying, which is, dude, flush the interceptions, hunt down the field for big plays. Your goal is not to just complete 8-yard passes. Your goal is to go big play hunting to Justin Jefferson. And the numbers kind of bear that out since the self-scout bye week.
Absolutely.
So let's see here. What else we got on Feedback Friday? Corey Larson says, if the Vikings hadn't traded for Hockenson, they would have lost to both the Commanders and the Bills, I think. Both those games were very close, and he made a greater impact than any other Viking tight end could have. Do you think if they wouldn't have made that trade and they had to roll with, I guess Irv would have been out, so they have to roll with your guy Johnny Munt and whoever else, do they beat the Commanders or the Bills?
Well, let's take each game separately. Washington, I think they lose. I mean, Hawk, if I'm not mistaken, had 9 catches on 9 targets, and he absolutely had a monster day. And
3 in that final drive.
Yeah,
right?
3 in the final drive. So, yes, I think that that statement about Hockenson entirely true for the Washington game. Buffalo, I get the point. I'm not positive about that one. But is this a great trade? Absolutely. So we're probably splitting hairs by debating that. But what Hockenson brings you is as close as you can get to having acquired another wide receiver without the designation of that position on the player, right? Like, this is as close as you could possibly get. And for Kirk's purposes, again, you know what? This is all probably part of a bit of give and take between a guy like O'Connell and Kirk, right? Because Kirk's doing a lot of things that Kirk is probably, at the end of the day, not entirely comfortable doing, but he gets it that O'Connell's explained to win, we have to do this. But Hockenson, to me, is sort of a olive branch to Kirk, because he is the exact type of guy Kirk absolutely loves. And yeah. I do think because he's slowed down a bit, he's still effective, but not as effective as I think Hockenson provides the type of option that Thielen did consistently. And I think that is not there as consistently because the guy is hurt. So Hockenson, to me, is an olive branch to Kirk, saying, you know what, you've done a ton of things that we're asking you to do. You might not be entirely comfortable. Here is a key component that you're absolutely going to love. Like, if you could go to the football player car lot and buy Kirk a car, he ain't getting the shiny car, right? He's going to get the Hawk.
The Hawk.
He's going to get the 4-wheel drive, off-road, son of a buck, can get through anything, and a lot of yak too.
By the way, get your Hawk season shirts and hoodies at scorenorth.com/shop. Scorenorth.com/shop. Victory Monday, Before I Die hoodies and shirts, some Score North and Purple Daily merch as well, and your Hawk season swag. So 7 catches for 45 yards in that Bills game, 9 catches for 70 against Washington. Those are now 2 of his top 9 biggest catch games of his career, because he wasn't getting the ball as often as he would in Detroit as he does with a better quarterback and other weapons to free him up and stuff. So, yeah, he only has now, going into this trade, he had 7 games in his career of 7 or more catches. Now he has 9 because of these first 2 games with the Vikings. He's already like more productive in 2 games basically as a Viking than he was as a Lion.
That's remarkable.
So interesting. Judd's been productive, losing weight over the past year, and all sorts of countless other Score North listeners have changed their lives through Livia over the past year and change.
That's right. Thanks to our friends at Livia Weight Control Centers. And yes, I said weight control. This is not a quick diet plan. I've been talking about this for months now. 40 pounds off. And here's the best part. Livia helps you maintain the weight loss. That's the most important thing. We have all lost weight. You know what we do? Inevitably, it feels like we gain that weight back. But in this case, I've learned that you don't have to. And as Phil just said, just as importantly, a lot of folks in our Score North family have learned the exact same thing. And right now, my friends at Livia have their best offer of the year for the holiday season. Ho, ho, ho. Save 50%. That's right, 50%. Santa Claus here, sports dad. I want you to get healthy. I want you to feel great. And I'm offering you the chance, and more importantly, my friends are, to save 50% inside or outside the state. Virtual consultations are possible, so you don't need to live in the state to join. 855-GO-LIVIA, Livia, Livea.com, Livia, Livea.com. Ho, 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 let's get the weight loss going.
All right, it's time now for the Minnesota goodbye here on Mackey and Judd. Declan, why don't you tee this up? You were texting us last night.
Okay.
I'll frame it up this way and say Declan was texting us, like, I think my neighbor is texting me and thinks that she's texting her husband. That's the theme.
That is the theme here. So, little backstory. This is the same neighbor that complained about Vinny Boy's barking from
rightfully so.
3 or 4 months ago. So, I met with them shortly after that barking incident. The landlord wanted me to meet with them. By the way,
so the landlord facilitated like a sit-down, come to Jesus, come to Vinny meeting?
Facilitated a meeting, but didn't want to be a part of the meeting, which I found very strange.
You told us this. Yeah, it was really weird.
Very strange. Yeah, I told you guys this off the show, I think. I know I told Judd this. I don't know if I told Phil all this.
I don't think I've heard this.
So, yeah, I met with them about like a few weeks after that, and the landlord kept saying to us when we were trying to facilitate this meeting, once you meet them, you'll understand. He said that no more than 3 times in the 20-minute meeting.
Can you say that as a landlord?
Once you meet them, you'll understand. Now it's out there. So, yeah, and I'm out.
I guess it's vague enough. It's vague enough.
So I met with them. I explained Vinny situation, what we're doing with Vinny, all this stuff. It was honestly a pleasant meeting. It was honestly a fine meeting. It was fine. I got to know them a little bit. I exchanged numbers with them. They have now kind of abused some of that. They sometimes think the TV is too loud. It's a whole other thing.
So now they're just texting you their complaints and stuff?
Yes. And I was told 50-50, don't give out your number to these people. But I said, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it and whatever.
Wow.
Well,
that's a bold move.
It is. And now this has evolved to last night.
Oh, God.
So I'm laying in bed, about to go to sleep, about to shut my little eyes to be ready for Feedback Friday. And all of a sudden, I get a little ding. And it's my neighbor above me, which I found a little strange. And let's just, I'm going to read this text message verbatim. I don't care. I'm going to read this first one I got verbatim.
Thank you.
We could always write an addendum that requires them to fix all the plumbing and co-detectors and hire back unnamed person to assure that fixes have been done. I think, though, that I would be miserable up there alone, and the feeling like these awful people are forever tied to our home because if something goes wrong, we have to go to them. Objectively, the home is in pretty good shape, aside from grading, which I know to be a problem. That was one of 18 text messages I received from the following time periods of 11:40 p.m. to 1:25 a.m. So for 2 hours, I received text messages about a potential home purchase, I believe, is what was being discussed here. Judging by these 18
what's funny
texts.
is they're discussing clearly. There's so much to unpack here, but they want to move because they hate living near you and your barking dog is one of the sub themes here.
Well,
and they're texting
when I
each
met
other
with
about
them, they mentioned to me that they're trying to move up north. Like that is their end goal. They've been in my neighborhood for a while. Yep, and they moved into my the building. Yeah. I shouldn't say my building. They moved into the building the same month we moved in. So it wasn't like they had been there for a while. The building's also only like 5 years old. It's a newish apartment building in Minneapolis. But the weirdest one I got of all these text messages, and some of these went a little off kilter, off from the, home purchase and home inspection situation. This is the weirdest one I got. Quote, then again, there is my belief fascism is coming and the horrid fantasy that we will be locked up.
What?
That's a text message I received.
What?
Then again, there is my belief fascism is coming and the horrid fantasy that someone will have us locked up.
Okay. So, wow. Where do we start here? So again, so you said there's 18, she sent 18 text messages clearly, and there's no way that they were sent to you, right? This is obvious, like they were sent to you, but it was obvious she's trying to send them to somebody else.
Correct.
So there's no question about that.
Yes,
she's not texting you.
And there's been previous contacts with us about Vinny or about neighbors and about so it's clear my name is saved in her phone as my name. I'm assuming it is.
So and over what? So you said 18 texts over what period of time? When
2 hours.
But when was the last one you received? Last night?
Last night at 1:15 a.m.
This morning.
So presumably, and the other person hasn't responded back, right? Because obviously I'm just wondering, did you at any point think I'm going to jump in and just be like, hey, wrong number?
It was so entertaining. I didn't want to ruin it.
Oh, dude,
I'll be completely honest.
But I mean, these are important to get to the husband who's traveling. Is that what this is?
I don't know where he is. I did get a few. I would really appreciate a response by tomorrow. I did get one of those in there.
Dude, I feel like you've got to fess up. Like,
No,
you want these people
this
to
is
move.
not my problem. This is not my issue. And I also did so about halfway through this time period. You know how if you have an individual text, you can mute the thread, and it will say very clearly at the bottom of a text thread. Like if I mute a conversation right now
This
between
person has
one of
muted.
you, muted conversations. I did that to think maybe the next text she'll send, she'll see, oh my God, I'm texting the wrong person. That didn't work.
Why don't you just respond, hey, I think you meant to send this to someone else? What's preventing you from saying that?
Right.
I'm kind of just fixated on her realizing that she has. I want her to realize.
No, I
she's
think
messed
you
up
just
here.
want it to go away. You want this uncomfortable exchange.
No, I'm actually kind of
to
like
fix itself.
as all these texts have been coming in, I've been more like enthralled with this story now, to be completely honest, of this and home inspection and everything else. But I also want her to realize the error of her ways on her own.
Well, first
That
of all,
makes sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but first of all, you are potentially slowing down a process that you want to take place, which is they get out. The second thing is, this has the potential, if she does come to realize within the next couple days what's gone wrong, to be very uncomfortable for you, because, like, at some
She's
point
going to
in
know
time-
that you did. She knows that
Yeah.
you saw the texts.
and you didn't try and stop. Like, I would have almost immediately been like, sorry, it's Judd from downstairs. You remember, Vinny boy, bark, bark. I feel like this is gonna get, because you get uncomfortable about stuff, Dex, and like this has the potential to get really uncomfortable.
Yeah, and you have a window here because we're still in the morning here the next day.
Yeah, very late
So
in the morning.
it
I
is
like what you
still
got.
it is reasonable that if you carry this into the nighttime and you haven't responded yet, now you've made it weird. She's made it weird. She's made it more weird than anyone because she's like rifled off 18 text messages, like these messages that are clearly meant for like a very close person in her life. But if you don't respond back at some point within a reasonable amount of time with, hey, you got the wrong number,
I agree.
and it just lingers, I think now you're making it weird.
I don't think I'm making anything weird. The fact this relationship, yes, has started because of my amazing barking dog, and that's fine. But this is not on me to correct. This is not on me to fix.
Okay, and that's fine. And I don't disagree with that. But now it's on you to live with the consequences of how wildly uncomfortable, beyond how it was uncomfortable before, when you run into them in the hallway or her in the hallway. And she knows that she rifled off 18 text messages to you and you just laughed at them and ignored them.
There's a fighting chance that they will come down and knock on your door about this if they understand, if they begin to get an idea that she texted the wrong person too. Like, are you ready? Are you prepared for this?
I do not want that.
Who the hell's that?
Why didn't you respond?
Declan, we'd like to talk to you. It's your neighbors.
I'm a home alone this evening too, so
I'm just saying. I think Phil's right. I would send. In fact, you know what? Right now, we can all craft it. I think we should craft a note back saying,
okay.
"Hey, it's come to my attention or something, or I got these. I woke up and saw these texts.
Just woke up. It's
Hey
like
there.
2 in the afternoon.
She has no idea that. I mean, she's not guys. She doesn't pay attention to our podcast. No, it's right
Should
now.
I address her by name? Hey there,
11:30.
blank.
Yes, I would make it as personal as possible because
Yeah.
you want to avoid the pissed off.
Make her feel a little dumb too. This is your chance because she's
I
been clowning you
believe-
about the dog for a long time. This is the ball is in your court
I agree.
to make her
A little
feel a little
snarky.
dumb here.
Okay.
Yeah, you can certainly be a little snarky. I think the most important thing is that you make it very clear that you got these.
Peters, you've been sending.
It is so much like
It's another chapter, and that I'm Larry David Jr. It's just
is.
absurd.
Dude,
that's
I want to
amazing.
hear from people. How would you handle this? I want tweet us.
Hey,
At Dex tweets, at Phil Mackey, at Jay Zolgad. Hit us up in the YouTube comments. How would you handle this?
hey, comma. I was really confused at first by this, but I think that you meant this for someone else, I received a series of texts. Hey is insulting, I think, a little bit.
Or
right? So
another option would be just
Hey.
respond LOL.
no,
Just
no,
like
these-
one, just like the
these are old
like
people.
texting,
You guys are doing young
Yeah.
people. Yeah, no, that's funny, but don't do that.
or heart
No,
one of them,
You need to
empathize one of them.
She won't, but she won't look at. It's very clear from your muting attempt. She's not looking at that. So you've got to make it very clear. This is Declan, your neighbor.
Well, the other thing too though is once you respond, your name will pop up. So she'll think, oh, she's getting a text from the neighbor, and then she'll realize what she did.
Yep.
So it's not like, yeah. Well, whatever you send, she's gonna realize once she opens it up.
What if I just said, "Hey there, blank name. It appears you meant these for another person." Period. Is that fine? Should I be a little more snarkier? Is there a
No,
chance
that's-
here?
that's
I
perfectly
mean, that's
snarky.
this is the adult one to do. Yeah, I could just do that.
Or
period.
you know what you could do? How about this? This is another thing that I might do. Hey, I think you meant these for another person, but ... and then give your opinion on the things that she has said.
Oh, I'm not doing that. No way.
Just
Here's
put,
my 2
It's
cents.
Declan, your neighbor. I think you meant this for a different person. Let me say this: the sooner you move, the better.
The better.
But you
For
do
all
want him out,
senses
so you
regards.
don't want to.
For all
Like the
of
last thing, the curb thing would be accidentally involving yourself or not,
Oh my God, dude.
and they don't move.
Amazing.
They're
Yes,
and they come downstairs and say, "We were all set to move, but we didn't get a response from the people." And Declan, it's just incredible. And you're
All
like,
right.
"Oh my God, I was
The
my
text has
fault."
been sent. It's been
Oh,
sent.
here we go. Let's
It's been
go.
sent.
Let's
Let's see what
go.
happens.
Oh my God. All right. There's your Mackey and Judd. Same bat time, same bat channel to find out. Will Declan be murdered this weekend by his neighbors? Find out next time on Mackey and Judd. Vikings Vent Line right after Vikings Cowboys on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. We'll see you guys.